And from what I can see, I think that concludes the pre-registered list. If I've missed someone, now's your chance to speak up. And if not, we can get moving on. And I ask that everyone, take notes if you can, pay close attention, because we will have quick trivia questions after each presenter, and you'll be able to utilize your chat option on Zoom. And the first correct answer for after each presenter is our winner. And I will pass it over to Cindy Drakeford.
Cindy, you're muted.
Thank you, because I just gave a long speech that nobody heard. Good morning again. I will repeat very quickly how excited, I was so excited that I didn't unmute my mic. How excited we were this morning to do this for you guys, with you guys. Wish that you all could be here, and hopefully moving forward, we'll get a chance to do that again. As they said, my name is Cindy Drakeford. I'm the Director of Finance here, but I do understand how important your role is, because I also serve as the Executive Assistant to the Commissioner. So in addition to the financial roles, I am also responsible for helping him get things out to the membership and assist him in whatever ways he needs assistance. So I understand how important your role is. I appreciate all of you taking the time to be with us today. I have a lot of information to share, and I will try not to bombard everybody with too much. Understand that whatever you didn't get, whatever I forget to cover, this is recorded, and or my phone is always available. My email is always available to ask questions. I love it when people call, because it gives me an opportunity to explain some things that could take a lot less time if you pick up the phone and call instead of trying to figure it out. If you'll bear with me, I'm going to figure out how to share my screen. I don't do this very often, so hopefully I can find the right spot. And I want to go backwards. Okay. So of the many things that I cover, one of the most important is invoices. Very often you'll get emails from me with invoices for your school. This could be invoices for sanction applications, invoices for membership dues, anything financial. I send those invoices out. So you'll see those emails come from me, and they may come from QuickBooks. So, if you see something come in from a QuickBooks, that's also me. Typically, I invoice retroactively, meaning, let's say your school sends in a sanction application. Once I approve the sanction application, I'll send your school an invoice. Once we get the membership dues determined, I'll send you an invoice. So in the next week, you all should be getting invoices for the high school league passes. So be on the lookout for that from your school. If your school ordered additional high school league passes for coaches, those invoices should start rolling out next week. I will be sending something a little bit different this year. I have a lot of schools, a lot of school districts that request POs, or that have POs that they have to fill out before they get an invoice from me. And so one of the challenges, because every district is different, is dates on invoices. I don't have the ability to remove the date on my invoice. So when I send out an invoice, that date is set. One of the challenges that I do have is schools will often call and say, hey, can you change the date? That's not a problem. So if your school is a school that requires purchase orders and they have to be dated at a certain date, and I've already sent an invoice to you, just call me or email me and ask me to change the date. That's flexible here. Another thing, I've had some requests from school districts that want estimates. So before they get an invoice, they need an estimate. That's not a problem either. As a matter of fact, I think this year I'll be sending out estimates for your membership dues and catastrophic insurance. That should go out somewhere late May or the 1st of June, so everybody can anticipate how much their membership dues, how much the catastrophic insurance is going to be for next year. And then the invoices are automatically generated, and they'll come out in July, 1st of July, somewhere between the 1st and the 15th of July. So you'll get an estimate first from me. If that's okay with you and you want to send your payment in, that's fine. But just know that you'll get that estimate and then you'll get an actual invoice with the membership dues and catastrophic insurance. Another thing that I'm changing this year, typically schools will fill out entry fee forms. There's an entry fee form on our website if you have student athletes that participate in cross country, track, swim, wrestling. I am doing away with the entry fee forms moving next year because I have some schools that do it, some schools that don't. I end up invoicing everybody anyway. So moving forward next year, you'll get invoices for your entry fees. There will no longer be an entry fee form that you have to fill out. I'll get the list of student athlete participants from the commissioners, and then I'll invoice you for those student athletes. We do accept credit cards. There is a 2.9% credit card convenience fee that I have to charge. So while we do accept credit cards, that is not an automatic option. It's something that I have to manually go in and add the fee and send you a credit card invoice. So if your school likes to pay with a credit card, just shoot me an email and say, hey, Cindy, I want to pay with a credit card. I'll adjust the invoice and I'll email it to you so that you can automatically click on that invoice and pay it directly from the invoice with a credit card. Just know that that's not a manual thing. That's something, that's not an automatic thing. It's something I have to manually do. I typically tell my schools, because of that 2.9% convenience fee for your membership dues and insurance, you may not want to pay with credit card because it increases the fee pretty good. But for smaller invoices, sanction fees, or this June basketball that's coming up, or whatever the case is, credit cards aren't a problem. Any questions so far about the invoices, the invoice process? If you type it in the chat, somebody will let me know that you have questions. Feel free again to email me about that if you have any questions about it. The other thing that I take care of are your playoff financial forms. And I really want to spend a little bit of time on these because I often get similar questions about them. Our playoff financial forms can be found on our website. So I'll click here just to show you that, these are the forms that are on the website. I do have a sample form I want to fill out with you. And what I want to explain is that a few years ago, we went to an Excel form. So our financial forms, and let me see if I can find it. I'm not sure. Can you guys see that form up there?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, great.
Well, we see, you got to click on the forms. We just see where you have the financial.
Okay, so
forms.
you don't actually see the form. Give me just a second. Let me stop share and then let me share the form. Okay, how about that? Can we see it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm learning how to use this Mac. The financial forms were changed so that it would hopefully make things easier for you guys as you fill them out. Everything in yellow on this form is what you need to fill out. Everything else automatically computes from the form. So for example, if you sell 200 tickets, it should automatically compute your gate receipts. Then you would have to take out, or let me just explain, if there is radio, TV broadcast, and we'll just say somebody wanted to broadcast your game and that's a $50 fee, it automatically adds that. So as you go down the form and you fill out the yellow information, it calculates everything for you, what's due to the other school, if anything, and it allows for certain expenses. The biggest question that I get on these financial forms first is about the homeschool deductible. And a lot of people are confused about what's that homeschool deductible. Some of our financial forms have a deductible on them, not all of them, some of them. And we understand that in early rounds of some of the sports like basketball, there's not a lot of tickets being sold. So the deductible is an aim to help the homeschool, retain some money for expenses. So if you can imagine that you're working a ticket gate and you earn $500 in cash, we're saying take $200 off the top of that cash for the school to cover its expenses, and then take the other $300 and take out the expenses on the form. If there is a share left, you share that with the school. If it's no share, if it's negative, well, then you had $200 set aside to help you cover the cost of your officials or security or gate workers or whatever it was you have. So just know that that homeschool deductible is $200 taken off the top to help cover those expenses. Our forms are different. Each sport may be a little bit different. Each round may be a little bit different. Some of them, as I said, have deductibles. Some of them allow for expenses that others don't. So I often get questions about, well, can we write off our gate workers, or can we? So if you don't see those lines on the forms, then we only allow for those expenses that are on there. The other thing about the financial form is that we no longer collect any money in the playoffs. So nothing comes to the high school league in way of money. We collect basketball semifinals and the championship rounds only. So a few times this year, I've gotten checks from school districts that are for playoff money. That goes to the visiting school. It doesn't come to us. Just make sure that you send a copy of that financial form within 15 days, 15 days to 2 weeks. Send a copy of the form to the visiting school and send a copy of the form to us. We keep those forms on file. And I often get other schools that call and say, hey, I haven't gotten a form for this game. Do you have a copy? So just make sure that you send it to the visiting school. You can send it to me. I say email it. Don't waste postage if you don't have to. Just email the form directly to me. And again, we keep copies of those. So if you don't get one from the school that you played against, let me know, and I hopefully have that copy on file. Let me just see if there's anything else about those. Those forms, again, can be found on our website in the AD notebook. They're due within 15 days. Any questions about the financial forms? One other thing I want to point out really quickly is the share to each school at the bottom. If that line is negative, meaning if it has brackets around it or if it shows up in red, that's negative. That means you didn't make any money, you don't send any money. I hope that I have fixed most of the forms so that that line should be 0. There should be nothing in there, but some of them may still have a negative number. Just know that if it's negative, there's no share. Nothing goes to them. Any questions about that?
I do not see any questions in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation. If I can find it. There we go. I think that's back on my share. Bear with me, folks. Okay. Okay. The other thing that we have included for you guys here are some of the frequently used links. And we have added so many new technology things in the last year that it's even confusing sometimes for me to keep up with where things are. So you all, here's a snapshot of some of the frequently used things, particularly for my office, and the links that for those applications. We have a new school directory, which I'll explain a little bit, and then Keith will show you what you need to do for that and how important it is. The sanctioning application, and I'm going to go over that in just a second. Arbiter, Dragonfly, Planet High School, they all have different responsibilities. So each of those are used for different things. Again, the school directory is how we send you guys emails. There should be somebody at your school, an admin person for the school directory, that is responsible for completing that information and updating that information. And let me stress how important that is. Our database, when I send out an email, when anybody in our office sends out an email, it's coming from that school directory. So if your principal is not listed, if your AD is not listed at the bottom, if the athletic secretaries are not listed, or your bookkeepers or whoever wants to receive information from us, if they're not listed on that website in that directory, then they're not getting the emails when we send them out. So someone has got to be responsible for the update. We know that as we get closer to the end of the school year, people are changing roles, they're changing schools, they're changing districts. So just keep in mind that, as you know that you may be leaving your school, or your AD may be leaving the school, or the principal may be leaving the school, whoever that admin person is should go in and update that information so that in the transition period, you're not missing out on things. Sometimes in July and early August, you guys may not be getting emails from us because there's a changeover. Sanctioning. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys do the sanctioning. Some of you may, some of your ADs may do it, and some coaches may do it. I have a lot of different people that do sanctioning for their school, but we have a new sanctioning application. It should bring you, you can find that on our website. Once you create a login, you'll see something similar to my page. And the very first thing that you see, you won't have the things at the top because I'm in as an admin, but your school, you should see any event that you've submitted an application for. whether it's been approved or denied, or maybe, it says submitted, or it may say pending if I put something in there that I need from you. The most important thing to remember about the new application is that it takes the place of our in-state application and our border state application. So this is one place to go for all of your events. You don't have to fill out separate forms. It allows you to type in all of the information. We have all of our member schools already added in, so you can use the drop down to add the member schools. It does not include the border state schools. So if you're going to Georgia or North Carolina and you need to put a school in there, you're going to have to type that school name in there. The most important things for the border state applications is that you include the association. So if they're a member of the North Carolina Association, if they're a member of the Independent Schools Association in North Carolina, make sure you fill that information out, because this form automatically sends the application to them so they can approve it. It eliminates kind of all of us having to print paper. And so what will happen is, you can put in a school for SCISA. I've already got Mike Fanning in there. It'll automatically send Mike a message that says your school has been invited to an event, and he can approve it directly from the computer. The other thing that is extremely important is that you let your principal know if you're completing an application, because once you put your principal's name and email address in there, it automatically sends him an email to approve. So you want to be sure that he knows it's coming, that he's looking for it, and that he signs it. It's a digital application. He can sign it directly using his mouse. Or if he has a touchscreen computer, he can sign it on the touchscreen computer. But it's a digital signature. And once they sign it, it sends a message back to me that he signed it. And I can't approve these applications until they're signed by the principal. So just make sure that you've put in the information you need to put in. You do have the ability to go back and edit it. So you can click on your edit approval or add a team if you forgot to add a team. I'm trying to think of some of the most important questions that I get about sanctioning. Typically it's, I forgot to add a team. Or, I'm inviting a school that's not a member of the high school league. What do I need to do? We work with SCISA. So if you are inviting all schools that are members of the South Carolina High School League and or SCISA schools, then you can check this box up here that says, are non-member schools participating? You can check no. And then you don't have to put in 100 schools if it's a track event. So you can just check no. I understand then that you're only inviting South Carolina High School League member schools or SCISA, and then you don't have to add all of the schools. But if you are inviting any school that is a non-member school of an association, you have to add that school because I have to get permission. So if it's Georgia, make sure you put in Georgia because Georgia has specific rules about who they allow their schools to compete with. North Carolina, they have specific rules. So just make sure that if you're inviting schools from other states or non-member schools, then you list that information, list the association, or if they're not a host association, if it's a homeschool, something like that. Any questions about the sanctioning application, the sanctioning process? Again, the links for how to get to the sanctioning application will be on that useful links page that we've shown you. There's a $50 fee for sanction applications. I will invoice you once I approve the event. There is no fee, and if you guys could just pencil this in, there is no fee for jamborees. So when you complete a jamboree form, we don't charge for jamborees. We don't receive any money on jamborees, and we don't charge for that application. So I always get checks for jamborees that I have to send back because we don't charge for that. So there's a $50 fee for tournaments, invitational showcases. Also make sure that if you have brackets, if it's an event that is a bracketed event, you upload your brackets for the event. And if you have invited a non-member school, that you upload a letter stating that a non-member school has been invited and that all other schools have been notified that there is non-member participation, because that's important. Okay. All right, let me get back out of this. I have to keep going back because I'm not exactly sure how to get back out of this. Well, All right, never mind. I'll just keep moving. I got out of my presentation. So the other thing I want to talk about, I talked about sanctioning, is rulebook orders. And actually, I do have to get back into the rulebook orders to show you how to do that. We went to a new system this year for rulebooks. Our rulebooks now are ordered through Shopify. And bear with me just a second. Let me pull that back up. Shopify has been awesome. I think it saves a lot of time. It allows us to keep track of our inventory. It allows you to look at what you're getting. It allows the front desk person to know exactly what you've ordered and whether or not you want to pick them up or whether they're going to be shipped. So what you'll do is you'll go to the Shopify app, and bear with me. I don't know why I'm having trouble. There we go. Every time I get out of go to the website, it takes me way back to the beginning. Bear with me. Okay, rulebook orders, Shopify. So once you get to Shopify, all of our books are listed there. These are this year's books, so we're going to have to go in and update for the books coming in for 22, 23. The nice thing about Shopify is that whatever book you want, let's say you want to get the football handbook, you can add as many as you want to the cart, add it to the cart, and then buy it now. Enter your school's information. You can let us know whether or not you want it shipped or whether someone's going to pick it up. You can pay for a credit card directly here, or you can tell the system to invoice you. So it'll send you an invoice, and then I'll make sure that I follow up with you with another invoice just to, remind you. But it is a much easier system than the paper version, I think. And again, it allows you to just ship it directly to you. So just check that out on our website on the 80 notebook. I don't know if there are any questions about the rulebook ordering process or anything that I've forgotten. No questions in the chat, Amy?
No, there are not.
Okay. I think that is all for me, folks. Again, I'm going to turn it over to Keith to talk about the directory. But just be reminded that directory is extremely important. Keith will explain to you how to get into the directory, how to update it if you have any problems.
All right. Thanks, Cindy.
Wait a second, Keith. I'm going to interject here just to remind everyone. I hope you were paying attention to Ms. Drakeford, because throughout this, we will have a quick trivia question where you can put your answer in the chat, and we will have prizes for that. So our first correct answer in the chat will be what is received, and we'll let you know at the end who had the correct answer. So for the presentation that Ms. Drakeford gave on finances, your question is, a copy of the financial statement is due to the visiting school and the high school league within how many days? How many days do you have to get a copy of the financial statement to the visiting school and the high school league? Don't yell out any answers, but the first correct answer in the chat, we will respond to at the end of the workshop. Now, introducing Keith Warren, our Director of Technology. Carry on.
Thanks, Tammy. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the directory first of all, and let me share my screen here. And let's see here. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? If you can't see my screen, and I just close
Yes,
the
we
tab
can.
there.
We can see it.
Okay. So if you go to our website, at the very top, you're going to see some menu items, and one of them is directory. So if you click on that, this is what the public is going to see. And you can come down here, you can search for any school you want to. I'll just use Irmo as an example. And you'll see any school that has Irmo in their data. But look at Irmo High School. And this is the really good information for the public to see. And
We're only seeing the website. We're not seeing the directory.
You're not seeing the directory. Okay, hang on one second here. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So with Irmo High School up here, you see their phone number, their web address, their athletic department address. And one thing that's really important here is the school admin. And this is who is responsible at that school for making changes to the directory. So if you create the school in our directory, you are the school admin. Now, we understand that people can leave the school. Maybe somebody else needs to have permission to make these changes. So we can adjust this as we go along. We can make multiple people have access, or we can just make the owner different. But when you go to more details on the website, you will see that same information at the top, but then at the below, you will see all the staff members. And we need to know your administrative staff, the school superintendent, the principal, athletic director, all those administrators, but we also need every head coach of every sport that you offer. And you'll notice that we have their name and their email address. When you fill out the form, and I'll get to that in a second, you'll also have the opportunity to put in a cell number. The public never sees that. That is for our internal use. And we have a view that we can quickly see if we need to get in touch with a coach, we can go to your school, search for it, and his or her email will be right, phone number will be right there. We can click on it and call them if we need to talk to them in a hurry. And that's available on our cell phones as well. So we can do it when we're in the field. But so how do you add information to the directory? Okay, that's the important thing, right? And now that I just closed my tabs, let's see if I can get back to that. Okay, can you see that?
We see your login page.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, so this address is what you'll need to go to actually input information to this, and we'll make this available. We should have sent instructions to all of you at the beginning of the year. If you're new and you don't have this, send me an email at keith@schsl.org, and I'll be happy to get that to you. So you'll come here, and if you don't have an account, you're going to click on this button at the bottom that says sign up, and you'll go through the process of getting an account. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So I've got an account, and I've already created a school. Now at the top, you're going to see the schools that you manage. These are ones that you created. You can go back and you can view that. You can add a staff member. You can edit information about the school. Maybe you have a different phone number or new web address. You can edit the school information, or you can do the staff as well. Below this is a school group. So if you want multiple people at your school to have access to this, maybe the AD and you want to team up on this, we can add a person to have access to this school. So what you'll do whenever you get ready to add a school is you'll fill out this form, and it's very simple. You just fill out all, this is base information about the school itself. And you could put the school logo, which dresses it up. And we also need this information about your social media. Tammy can use that. And if we want to get to your school web address, your athletic department web address, we need that information here. Some of these are required fields and some are not, but please fill that out as much as you can. And when you get ready to, let's say you're going to add a staff member, as part of that sign up, after you fill the information about the school, it will go to add staff where you can add a staff member. And it's really simple. You just fill this out and hit submit, and it will automatically add it below. You'll see the list of everybody who is in this school. And so if they're not in this list, then you can come back up here and add them. So this will keep cycling through. You can add all your staff without having to go back and forth. Are there any questions about that? Anything in the chat about that? Okay. Like I said, we will send you this information if you don't have it on how to get in and create this. Another thing that we want to talk about was, oh yeah, let me back up. Cindy touched on this, but when you add a staff member, it will automatically put them in the correct email group that we send emails to. So if you put in an AD, it will put them into the AD email group automatically. Next year, I hope to have it to where we can delete. If you were to delete a staff member, we can take them out of the email group. That's not available right now, but it should be by next year. Okay, so the other thing we wanted to talk about was Dragonfly. We use Dragonfly for our league pass. And it can be a little bit confusing when you go to Dragonfly, and it's a two-part process. So you have to, each person who's going to get a pass needs an account into Dragonfly. So part of the process of signing up for Dragonfly, it asks you to select a school. And once they're in, that they select a school, they have to be approved into the school. So confusion happens that people think that when they get approved into the school that they have requested the pass, and that's not the case. So after the person is admitted to your school, when they log in, they're going to log in on the Today page. That's an automatic thing. And if you scroll to the very bottom, you will see the passes that are available based off what your role is at the school. If you are a coach, you're going to get a league pass and you'll sign up here. And what you will do, if you click on this, if it's empty, you will just click the request a card, is what they call them in Dragonfly, request a card. And you will go through the process and fill out the information that's required, your name, your position. You have to upload a picture. And please make sure it's a clear picture, no sunglasses. You just want to be able to identify that person when they walk up to the gate, okay? So once they fill out their part, it's going to put this pending watermark on the top. So they've done their part. Now you have to go in and approve them of their pass. And so what happens is over here on this navigation bar on the left, there's cards and events. And I've got a lot more things than you will have. It'll be much simpler for you. But you'll pick the cards and events. And then it's going to give you these fields where you select. So you want to select, okay, what kind of card? So you're going to click on cards and events. And let's just say we'll go to the staff league pass. You will have some other options there. If it's a district office pass, so you'll click that. And it's going to give you everybody. So what you want to do is kind of limit that. You want to click on here again and say, what kind of status? So for you, you're going to want to be submitted to the school. You'll click that and it'll only give you those passes that have been submitted waiting on your approval. And you'll go in and you'll click the checkbox to the side of the name, and then the approve and reject buttons become active. And you're going to hit approve if you want to approve that pass, or you can obviously reject it. So what happens at that point is it comes to us. And what we do is run this query. It says this pending approval by us. And so we don't have any right now that are pending approval, but I'll run this every day, particularly early in the year. I'll run it a couple of times a day and I'll approve those lists. And so as soon as I approve it, the person with the pass will get an email, and they'll also get an alert on their cell phone. So they also need to go to the App Store and download the Dragonfly app, and they'll sign in there, and the app, the pass will show up on their app, on their phone, and you'll have to take that to the game and show that to your ticket takers or at your pass gate to allow them into the game. But there are some things coming on that next year that where you can validate the card. It's kind of like for that event, it's almost like GoFan where you're validating a ticket. You have the opportunity to do that. It's not required, but it's something you can do. If you swipe across the card, it will keep them from using that card multiple times at an event. So we're trying to get to where we have some kind of accountability of who's coming in and how many times. So we're going to hopefully get better with that as it goes. And the first step of that, you will see, you can actually see it now if you download the app. They've got a new app out now, and it is the code. There's several versions of it, but the the coach's version is what you'll want to download.
There's a
Do you have
question
any
in the
questions
chat.
about that?
Yes, there's a question in the chat, Keith. Do you find it easier by computer or mobile?
So to fill this out right now, you would need to do this on the computer on the web browser. With the new app, you will be able to create the account and apply for the card on the mobile, and it'll make it much easier because you can just, as soon as you create it, you can fill out the, you can do the app for the card. You can take your picture with your cell phone at that point. But right now you have to create the account on a web browser on a computer. After you do that, everything else can be done mobile. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, one more. Does the AD need to ask you to give approval rights to the administrator, or can we contact you?
And is that for the directory?
No, for Dragonfly. So in other words, do you need approval from the AD for them to be able to add, to be the administrator for the
Yes.
Dragonfly account?
Yes, we would need a principal or an AD to give anyone other than that access to approve them. So yeah, and they can, if they send me an email from their school email account and tell me give access to this person, be happy to do that. Okay, if no other questions, I'll turn it over to Tammy.
Thank you, Keith. And before we move along to Jan, we're going to ask a trivia question over Keith's presentation. And hope you were paying attention to the directory information, because he shared very important stuff of what that directory does, including, adding athletic staff, contact information, the school social media. But part of that, he mentioned something, and I need you to put in the chat, what can you input for one of your staffers that will only be shared with high school league staff? There was one item that you were able to list on that directory that the public, the general public, does not see, but the high school league staff will be able to see. Okay, you do that, and we're going to move on to Jan Hogan.
Good morning, everybody. It is so great to see everybody today. We just have a few things real quick to cover. It says schedules, contacts, and Arbiter game. Let's flip that around. Let's start with Arbiter game, because everybody has been asking me about Arbiter game. It is going to be new this year. It's going to be new to me. It's going to be new to probably about 75% of our state. I think we've got about 25% of our schools that are already using Arbiter game. And I'm hoping to be able to lean on some of the schools that have been using it for a couple of years now. So right now, we do not have a time frame. We are hoping to get a time frame of when we're going to be up and running. But as soon as we know, I will be getting in contact with all the schools, all the ADs, athletic secretaries, and principals to let you know. We are going to not go into this. We're not going to throw you into it blind. We are going to have lots of Zoom training. Arbiter has already started working on Zoom meetings. We'll have several Zoom meetings. You have several opportunities to get training. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's easier on the school side now. And I was going to ask if there is anybody that is using Arbiter game, if you could shoot me an email sometime today and let me know you're on Arbiter game. And especially if you are willing to be a resource for some of our newer athletic administrators that are coming in that may have a question or two that I may not be able to answer on your side. Schedules. Schedules, let's see, May 1st, football and volleyball schedules are due in Arbiter. All your football schedules, your varsity football schedules, just make sure that when you are inputting those, they go into the 101-800 account. 101-800 account. That is my account. So if any questions you have on football varsity schedules, you can give me a call. Volleyball schedules are also due on May 1st. Depending on your volleyball director, some of our volleyball directors have their own accounts. So you will work with your volleyball director to get it into their account. So you don't have to do double work. Last year we had some put them in my account. They had to turn around and put them into your local district booking director's account. And with your booking directors, I've had several questions this year of who is our booking director for each sport. If you go onto our league website and go under officials, choose the sport that you're interested in, and every sport has a map of South Carolina, and each county in South Carolina is in a specific district. So you see which district you're in, scroll down, you will see either a picture or a name of your district director. Click on the picture or click on the name, and that will automatically give you contact to them by email. So that is one question I've had a lot this year. So you can work with your booking directors for these sports. Most of the time when you're working with your booking directors, it's going to be in your sub-varsity sports, all sub-varsity sports, and all varsity sports except basketball and football. Basketball and football varsity, all questions will come to me. All other sports, you'll go to your individual booking directors. We have contacts up there. We have a lot of contacts from schools, ADs, admin secretaries, some principals that I guess when the school gets a new person, the old people are not deleted. So we're going to need a little bit of help cleaning out the contacts for your school. I've started emailing a few schools. I think a few people have gotten emails about how many people who can I go in and delete from your school. When we move over to Arbiter Game, this will be very easy. I found this out last week. When we move over to Arbiter Game, you will see a list of everybody that has access to your Arbiter account, and you will be able to add or delete people as needed at your school level. So that's one good thing. I think that's it on Arbiter. Any questions about Arbiter?
I responded in the chat that someone did
Thanks.
ask, is Arbiter sports different than Arbiter Game? And I simply replied that yes, it is different. They're similar. Some of our schools are already using the Arbiter Game, but I mean, as you
Yes.
said, they'll be getting training on this as this takes place. So
Yes. Everything is still the same. You'll still input your games the same way. You will still, if you use Arbiter Pay is still the same. It just has a different look. It has a much more up-to-date, clean look. I believe you can actually see a calendar on your like homepage of your Arbiter account, and you can see everything on one page of a calendar of what's going on that day, that week, or that month. So you don't have to go and click to so many different screens just to see what's happening that day. Okay, playoffs. Of course, everybody knows we are starting spring sports. Lacrosse has already got first round behind us. And then we've got between soccer and boys tennis and baseball and softball. We've got a lot of things going on. I keep up with all the brackets, and I really need the school's help of reporting scores. So a couple things reporting scores. It is a responsibility of the home team to report the score. With that said, a lot of times when the home team is not the winner of the game, sometimes it doesn't get reported as quickly as we would like it to be reported. So either home team or the winner of the game, please report your scores. You can report them to me by email or by text. But a few things you need to let me know what sport it is and the actual score. I just need school A and a number, school B and a number, what the score is and what the sport is. I get so many emails, we won. And you're in baseball, softball, and soccer. And then I have to start really digging deep to see of what game you're talking about. But please, home team and or the winner, report the score, give me the team sport and the actual numbers of the actual number score. Any questions on that? And another thing is, if you want to send that to me in the evenings after the game, I usually work on brackets till 9 or 9:30 every night that we have playoffs going. So I start updating brackets as soon as school starts sending me in scores, and then I finish them off first thing when I get to work the next morning. Okay, Tammy?
All right, thank you, Jan. And before we move forward to Amy, we have a trivia question on what Ms. Hogan just covered. So question for that, first one to respond correctly in the chat will be our prize winner. And that question is, who is responsible for reporting final scores? Who is responsible for reporting those final scores to Jan? And moving forward with Amy Boozer.
All right, thanks, Tammy. And I see the chat is blowing up. So obviously our people are paying great attention and responding to your questions. So that's awesome. All right, so we're going to go over transfers. And, honestly, there is so much information that can be covered on transfers that this could probably just be an all-day clinic on transfers alone. So I'm just going to kind of cover the most important things when you have transfers, what you need to do. And I think one of the most important things that with a transfer, any student who was not enrolled at your school or your feeder middle school during the entire previous year is considered a transfer. So it's very important that this is communicated to your coaches as they're selecting teams. So they need to really poll the students, know who is new to the school, who is new to your area, so that you all can start looking to see, is this student going to be eligible to participate for our school? So again, any student who's not enrolled at your school or your feeder middle school would be considered a transfer student. And with all of our transfers, we should look at them as ineligible first until we can go through the steps to make sure that they are eligible. So to be eligible, they must meet one of our criterias, and those are listed in our bylaws in section 10. So in the AD notebook on the website, you can find the bylaws, and section 10 is basically pages 12 through 14 will cover what the criterias are. And I mean, it goes from A through N. So like I said, there are a lot of different scenarios for transfer students. So I will just kind of highlight a few of them. But again, if you have questions at any time on transfers, just feel free to pick up the phone and call, because you will have some unique transfers that sometimes it stumps us and we have to sit and have a lot of conversation. All right, for a transfer form, okay, those are to be completed on Planet HS. Before a student can compete in any competition, that transfer form must be completed. Okay, so all transfer forms must be completed prior to the student athlete competing. Athletes who are not eligible, they cannot participate in a scrimmage, jamboree, or contest. So you may be in the process of of determining if this transfer is eligible or not, all that student can do is practice with the teams. Once you have submitted the transfer form and it's been approved, then they would be eligible to participate. But prior to that, they cannot play in a scrimmage, jamboree, or contest. They can only practice. All right, 2 requirements for all transfers. So each transfer you have to first make sure the student is eligible to represent the school from which they are leaving. So you need to contact the school that they are leaving from to confirm that the student is eligible to represent that school. And then second, did the student participate on an outside team in which a coach, this does include volunteer coaches, coached or had input into the selection of the outside team? So again, if they played for a coach that coached an outside team, or someone who helped with the selection process of the outside team, because we do have people that oversee, for example, club volleyball. They may not be the coach, but it's their club volleyball program. And they do sometimes help with the selection and placing student athletes on teams. So these 2 questions need to be asked of any student who is a transfer to your school. These are just some types of transfers. I did not put in here A through N. These are just some of the common transfers that we have. Bona fide change of address. So a bona fide change of address means that the entire family has moved into your district. And it is important that you do confirm that the entire family has moved. With the bona fide change of address, it's important a lot of times to refer to the definition for what we have for bona fide change of address. That also can be located in the bylaws section, and it's under definitions. And it can be found on page 26, but you want to make sure that the move is with the intent of it being permanent. That under no circumstances can the families have 2 residents for eligibility purpose. The head of the household must make the move. The original residence must be clearly vacated and closed, and the family move to the new residence. So those are just some things when looking at bona fide change of address, do they meet those criteria? Then we have an intra-district transfer. So those are transfers that occur within your district. So within your school district under the same superintendent would be an intra. An inter, and I meant to put an asterisk by this. Inter-districts are transfers across district lines. So they're coming to your school across district lines. This was actually removed from the bylaws. You cannot find it in the bylaws, but with an injunction that was placed on the change in this, inter-districts transfers are still allowed, but understand that an inter-district transfer has limited eligibility only. So that means they would have sub-varsity eligibility only. And that has to be the school they're coming from has to sign off on it. But again, that one you will not find in our bylaws. And if you are doing an inter-district transfer, you cannot put that one in Planet HS either. That will be a form that we do have on our website that you would download, have the school they're coming from to sign off on it, and then you would put that form in the student's folder. When doing their eligibility, you would check, so when you're doing the sport eligibility, that they are a transfer. So intra is within the district, inter is coming to your district from another school district. District school of choice. So this must occur the 9th grade year. So a student can decide 9th grade year where they want to attend school. Once they make that decision, their eligibility is going to be at that school for the entire school year, unless there is a bona fide change of address. So once a 9th grader decides where they're going to be attending, that's where their eligibility will be for that period of that 9th grade year. We do have a one-time move to a biological parents. Sometimes we have students that may live with a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle, and then later they do decide that they're going to move to a biological parent. That is covered in the bylaws. Non-member to member schools. This is another one that is common. So students coming from non-member schools, for example, private schools, sometimes your virtual online charter schools, would be considered non-member schools. So we have non-member to member. With that, you have to make sure that the parents reside in your attendance zone. And you also need to make sure that the student has not participated in the sport they're wishing to be certified. That would also be the same for the one-time move to a biological parent. I think your intra-district covers that as well. So they, can't have participated in that sport in which they're wishing to transfer. And those are spelled out in the bylaws. So again, pages 12, 13, and 14. And then parent separation and divorce, we do get this one common as well. And this is kind of covered in there. The big thing is you do have to have documentation that is signed by a judge or stamped by a clerk of court. A lot of times our parents will say they can't get that, but in order for this transfer to see if the student is eligible, that documentation does have to be provided. So these are just some of the common ones we deal with. Again, like I said, it's A through N. You will have transfers that some are going to be easy, and then some are going to have a lot of moving pieces, and just, pick up the phone, give me a call. That's what I'm here for. Glad to talk through it and to see if that student athlete is eligible or not eligible prior to you completing the form. All right, guardianship. We get a lot of questions about guardianship. And so I just want to cover that. So we have in the bylaws what guardianship is, and it's not necessarily going and getting something notarized to give guardianship to someone else for your children to live with. For us, it is a legally appointed guardian. One would be if both parents are deceased, or if both parents reside outside the contiguous United States and the parents are United States citizens. If a student becomes a ward of the court and the Department of Social Services assumes legal guardianship, then in this case, the parents or former guardians, they have no legal rights to or control over the student. We do have students that are put in foster care, and those parents are recognized immediately as far as guardianship, or if a student becomes a ward of orphanages. We do have some students that do reside in orphanages here in the state, and if they are in the attendance area, then they are eligible for your school. But just simple guardianship with something notarized stating that, I've decided that this student is going to live with their older sibling, their older sister, and I'm gonna just have it, notarized, and they're going to take care of them. That is not considered legal guardianship, and they would not meet eligibility for that. Are there any questions on these two things I've covered? I know I've covered a lot of information. Okay, see that has been answered. All right, your eligibility form. So when you get ready to put in eligibility, you'll simply go to Planet HS, and there you will see transfers, and you would simply click on that and enter the information that is listed there. Anything that has a red asterisk, you have to make sure that you respond to those. And this is just where you enter it. Then your principal will have to approve it once the form has been submitted. All right, charter school and homeschool. So these two have an exception, and this is due to state law. Please notice that private school is not listed here. Private schools do not have the same rights as charter school or homeschool students. So currently, right now, state law says students who attend a public charter school that does not offer the sport are eligible to play only where they are zoned to attend. This does include your online public charter schools, such as your SC virtual or SC Connections would be an example. So you have to really check what the online status is that the students are taking. We have had some situations that they are actually doing private school online courses. So that would not meet state law. It has to include online public charter schools, or they can be attending a brick and mortar charter school. And if they do, and the sport is not offered, then they are eligible to play only where they are zoned to attend. All right, students who are homeschooled are only eligible to play where they are zoned to attend. And I have this on here, must have been homeschooled for at least 1 year prior to participation. Now, the last 2 years, the State House has made an exception on this, and they have not kept this requirement in. We'll have to wait until they finish up with the legislation assembly for this year to see if that's going to be waived again. But in the past, those homeschool students had to wait a year, but since COVID, that has not been the case. And you want to make sure that you're communicating with the parents, you know, are they in a homeschool association, which in order to meet state law, they will have to be in a homeschool association. And are you taking classes at home online through a charter school? A lot of times kids are going to be like, well, I'm doing homeschool, but what they're really doing is the online homeschool through a charter school. So they just look at it that they're doing their studying at home. So you just want to, you know, clarify that with those student athletes and the parents. And just remember, these students are eligible. They are not transfer students. You do not have to put them on the transfer form. With the homeschool students, they do have to complete the form with their intent to participate, and that has to be submitted to your district office. All right, are there any questions, or are those been taken care of in the chat? Okay, moving on to foreign exchange. Our foreign exchange is picking up a little bit. So with that, they must live in your attendance area. They have 1 year of eligibility, and they must be a member of an approved foreign exchange program. This year, we did move the foreign exchange form to Planet HS. So moving forward, if you have a foreign exchange student, you will be completing that form online on Planet HS, where you do your transfers, where you do your eligibility. Again, this one would work just like your transfer form. You fill out the information, put it in there, submit the form, and then the principal has to go back in to approve the foreign exchange student. And Planet HS, again, I said, you know, it's used with Planet HS. You're going to do your eligibility, which Charlie Winsky will be talking about that first semester eligibility here in just a second. Transfers are entered on Planet HS, foreign exchange is entered on Planet HS. So these are some of the common things that when you get to Planet HS that you will be using. So any questions before I turn it back over to Tammy? Okay, Tammy, with that, we'll turn it back over to you.
All right, great job, Amy. Before we move forward to our next presentation, the trivia question with the items that Ms. Boozer covered. When do transfer forms have to be completed? When do transfer forms have to be completed? Please first correct answer in the chat. If you put your answers in the chat. Now we'll move forward to Mr. Danny Brooks.
I think Charlie's next.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Next, we have Deputy Commissioner Charlie Winsky.
Good morning. I'm waiting on Keith here to give me the ability to share my screen so I can show you Planet HS real quick. A couple things I want to point out to you. I think Keith went over, I didn't hear all of Keith's presentation, but want to reiterate a couple things on the directory. Cell phones, it asks for your cell phones for your coaches, your AD, and your principal. Understand that information for the cell phones is hidden. Only the league office staff can see those cell phone numbers. That doesn't become a public domain to where people can see your numbers. It's very important for us if we can get the AD and the principal's cell phone, because tracking some of those folks down in the school building sometimes is a tall task, as I'm sure some of y'all well know. But if we can get those cell phones of at least those two individuals on the directory, that will be very helpful for our office in communication. I want to take a minute to go through some academic eligibility stuff with you, and Amy has it laid out here to what it says in the bylaws, but I'm gonna just share my screen with you. Amy, if I can share mine, if you can stop, is that possible for a second? Let's see. I've got to find it now, where it is. So I want to go through with you on the bylaws here. This is the academic requirement piece. What you probably need to most pay attention to at this point in the year is what is going to be dealing with first semester eligibility. Of course, anyone entering the 9th grade, coming up to you from the 8th grade, they will have to meet your district or your school's promotion status from middle school to high school. So you will not be worried about how many credits they earned in 8th grade. They're a 9th grader. They meet that promotion status that the district has determined for promotion to 9th grade. Sometimes there are situations where students are promoted for social reasons and they are not academically promoted to the 9th grade. Those students would not be eligible for first semester as a 9th grader. It's only going to be those that meet the academic promotion status to the 9th grade. For the fall, students that are going to be in the 10th through the 12th grade, obviously must have an overall passing average, and they're going to have earned a total of 5 Carnegie units from the entire previous school year that would count towards graduation. So from first 9 weeks all the way through fourth 9 weeks of this school year, they will have to have earned a total of 5 credits. And then 2 of those credits would have to have come in the second semester. So what you'll have to look at in determining fall eligibility on those transcripts will be the total credits earned for the year, and then also look at the total credits earned in second semester. If the total for the year is 4, and you had 3 earned in second semester, that student would not meet eligibility because they did not earn a total of 5 for the year. If they earned 5 for the year and earned 4 of those in first semester, but 1 in second semester, that student would not meet eligibility moving into the fall. Now, if they're not eligible for the fall, remember, they can still gain eligibility once the first semester is over for second semester. It doesn't kill their eligibility for the entire year. Additionally, they can also earn 2 units can be passed in summer school. So they can earn up to those 2 units in summer school. And that would count towards that second semester units earned as well, or for the 5 earned overall for the year. And that summer school does have a date, and I will show you that here in a second. Piece of advice, words of wisdom, because we get the phone calls from upset parents when it happens. If you've got an idea in, say, late June or middle of July of who may be coming out for certain sports, for example, in volleyball, you've got these 14 girls that played last year, and your coach has indicated that they're probably going to be coming back out. Go ahead and run their transcripts for eligibility to see if you've got any issues before they come to tryouts. Certainly, we get the calls when the kid has been going all summer long and they've gone to 2 weeks of practice. And right before the first scrimmage, they're told you're not academically eligible. And more often than not, the parent is not really frustrated that the kid's not academically eligible. They're frustrated with nobody told them until the last hour. So if you can get ahead of the game and check those things off in the early summer, once school is complete and those grades are posted, it certainly will help your athletes moving forward, and also will give those a chance who maybe don't meet the academic requirements an opportunity to earn those 2 credits in summer school to apply to the fall. We run into several situations the last few years where student athletes were not eligible. It was caught in late July and summer school is over, and they don't have an opportunity to earn those credits to become eligible. Had it been ran, say June 10th, that student may have had the opportunity to enroll and complete summer school for those credits. For second semester eligibility, it's laid out here for you, and all this information is in the bylaws. And a lot of people get confused because, oh, we're A-B schedule, or, oh, we're a 7-period day, or, oh, we're a block 4x4. It's basically the same thing either way, and it's laid out for you. You're either one of these two situations. It's laid out for you as a base schedule. And it kind of spells it out for second semester. If they were eligible in the fall for first semester, then if they're on an A-B schedule, traditional classes, 7-period day, they must pass a total of 4 subjects. In a 4x4 block schedule where full units or half units are earned, if they were eligible for the first semester, they must earn the equivalent of 2 units. Often people get confused and say, well, my students can't earn 2 units because we're on a 7-period day. Well, it outlines you in the first one what you have to do. You just pass 4 classes in the 7-period day. Now, of course, with all of your eligibility pieces, student must have an overall passing average. When dealing with the overall passing average, you can choose to do it one of 2 ways. You can do it as a numerical average of all their grades, or you can do it as a GPA average based on the SC uniform GPA scale. And if that, sometimes the numerical average will be just a little bit south of an overall passing average, but the GPA will actually be above what's required to be eligible, above a 1.0 that requires you to be eligible, and that will be a way to get them eligible. So the numeric may not work. So if you've got somebody who numerically it doesn't add up that they're an overall passing average, I would suggest that you pull their GPAs for each class or each credit and see where that lines up, add that up, and see if you've got a 1.0 or higher once you divide that out and average it. And most often than not, that if they are close numerically but not quite there, the GPA will put them over. If they're not close, usually the GPA won't get them there either. So when you're dealing with students that have an IEP, that are on an IEP as their educational plan, a lot of times we have ADs or admin assistants that get confused because they'll say, well, Charlie's got an IEP and he didn't earn 4 credit or 5 credits. The question becomes, are they considered a self-contained where the IEP is governing their academic progress? If they're in a resource type class where they are pulled out during the day, they do have an IEP, but they also are on a diploma track. If they're on a diploma track where they're working for credits to graduate with a South Carolina high school diploma, they must meet the eligibility standards that are up here regardless of their IEPs. If they're on a non-diploma track, then you're simply going to go to their special education teacher and check to see if they met the goals of their IEP to promote to the next grade or to the next semester. If they met the goals of that IEP, then they would be considered eligible. And that is on Planet HS, an option for students with disabilities to be eligible that way through their IEP. Of course, it talks about what happens when courses are dropped. And then you see down here, number 8, I want to point out to you, because this is very important, the 2 credit recovery units, because we've got a lot of students now that are doing credit recovery in various ways or in summer school. They can use those credit recovery or summer school courses, but they must complete those for fall eligibility by the 2nd Monday in August. A lot of times you'll have students that they finish the year, they got to get credit recovery, and they say, yeah, I'm going to get to it. They come back to fall eligibility and they haven't gotten to it, and you run their eligibility report, and now they've got 4 weeks of credit recovery to do, and we're in the 2nd week of August already, and they've passed the date of that 2nd Monday in August to be eligible for credit recovery. Now, in the ever-changing world of South Carolina high school academics, you're starting to see a lot more offerings from various places outside of your traditional building. Keep in mind that what we're going to go by is on the transcript when you have a class that maybe is not yours. Maybe they're doing a class from outside of your building through an online learning situation, through a technical college. That class, we'll recognize that class on the transcript where it's placed. So if you've got a student that is is doing a class now that they're trying to get credit for first semester. When that transcript's over at the end of the year, we're going to look at what the transcript says. And we've got a lot of calls on that, usually about at the end of the summer, because the way the schools are putting credits onto schedules or onto transcripts now. They're placing them, if they finish them sometimes in the late summer, some schools are placing that credit onto the transcript for the fall the next year. And if the transcript has it listed as the fall for next school year, you will not be able to use that credit backwards for this school year. Even though it may have been a class they were completing for this school year, we're going to go by what the transcript says. So the best advice I can give you is the transcript will never lie to you on where that class has been put for credit. And that is all you have to go by. Okay, let me take you now to Planet HS, and I gotta bear with me here. I've got to sign in. I'm gonna go in as a school. I'm just gonna use school that is close to me here, Irmo. Karen, if you're on here, I hope you don't mind. I won't give any of your secrets away while we look at it. So if you look at the screen here, you see everything you need to know on Planet HS should be on your home page. If you're not seeing something when you log in, please give Jan or myself an email with what it is. If Jan can fix it pretty quickly here, she will. Most often than not, the issues that you run across in Planet HS are something that we have to send to our Planet HS reps. And typically what I do and what Jan will do is we'll forward your email to them, and Alex will reach right back out directly to you. That way he can help you solve that problem, and we cut the middleman out. So we don't mind being the middleman passing the message, but it's a lot easier if you can email us the problem, and then we can forward it on to Planet HS to have them fix it. So you see here with all of your, you have your team rosters. If you set those up, your coach management, if you've got that set up, you've got training videos down here to the right. And that is where all your rules meetings are for your coaches. You've also got pitch counts for your baseball coaches to input. You've got eligibility and transfers, which is what Amy just went through with you. But if you click on the eligibility and transfer link, and I'm going to do that, trying to do it. And it's just going slow. So I'm going to click here. This is where we're going to enter all your eligibility. And I'm just going to show you, I'm assuming most of you all know what this looks like, but I just want to pull it up for you. But as we wait for it to spin and get loaded, one thing I would share as a words of wisdom or piece of advice, because I deal with whenever there is a student who is ineligible or a student who has participated that is not listed on these forms. One piece of advice I would give you to share, and of course your athletic director or principal may say, oh, absolutely not. We are not going to do that. Once you have an eligibility, and we'll look here at an eligibility sheet from Irmo, we'll take a girls lacrosse. So you see their girls lacrosse has all been approved, the initials approved, and all the supplementals are approved. This is a quick day check every morning to make sure everything you've got in all your sports has been approved. And hopefully there will be none here pending. And I'll stop here because we're perfect 100% so far. But if there was one, let's say this last supplemental here was pending, it would not say approved. It would say supplemental one line pending. And that would mean that it's waiting on approval. It's either waiting on you to submit the approval or it's waiting on your principal to approve it. I would recommend two things. One, check through all of these every day, every morning, and maybe every afternoon. It would take you less than 5 minutes to make sure you don't have anything pending that needs to be approved. And second, I would take, once you have approved, I would open that roster. And I'm not going to open the roster due to student sensitivity and safety issues here, but I would open that roster and I would print that roster of those that are listed on eligibility off. And I would take that to your head coach of that sport. So at Irmo, this girls lacrosse coach, I would print all of my eligibility sheets as they've been approved, take it to the coach and say, if their name is on here, they are good to participate. If their name is not on any of these sheets, they should not participate in any scrimmage or contest. If your coach takes that and follows that, you would not allow anybody to participate that's not on eligibility. And that would get caught very quickly, typically before your first scrimmage or at least your first contest. Some of the issues we've ran into, though, have been these eligibility rosters not being approved and students competing. So you need to make sure, if you're the one that's responsible for inputting this and making sure it's all done, just a quick check each morning to go through to make sure it's done, because just because you all know, just because you hit submit to your principal, it doesn't mean they're going to get to it that day. And oftentimes you're submitting it hoping that they get it done that day. When you manage your semester setup, and you'll start getting to this here for next year, for 22, 23, of course, I can toggle the years. I can go back and check all the way back. But I would set up, if Karen was going to set up here at Irmo for her fall, I can toggle down and set her up for her fall next year. And this is where she would have to go in, or her athletic director would go in here and set up all of her eligibility rosters, enter your team name, first regular season contest, and then you would go on over your preseason date. And then once you save your semester configuration down here at the bottom, it will save all of those for you. And then you'll be able to pull the eligibility roster up to get to it. Now, one thing I want to point out while we do this, and we run into it with some questions this year particularly, is your basketball and wrestling. So students who start basketball and wrestling in the fall and are eligible, they're going to remain eligible through the end of that sports season, even if it overlaps into second semester. Students who are not eligible for the fall can gain second semester eligibility. So in basketball, I could gain second semester eligibility. So when first semester ends and second semester starts, I could become eligible for basketball for the remainder of the year. When you go to put them on eligibility, you're going to have to do so in second semester, because that's the semester they're becoming eligible. And what happens if you go into your roster or your eligibility roster to put in your forms, if you haven't configured your basketball team to be a second semester sport, you're not going to be able to enter it in. So see, I'm guessing here that Irmo did not have anybody that they put on eligibility for second semester only in basketball. To do that, they would have to go in, obviously fill it out the same way: basketball boys, first regular season contest date, first preseason, save semester configuration, and then it would take her back to her eligibility sheet. And let's go back to the eligibility transfers, and it would take you back to your first semester or your second semester eligibility, to where she would then enter in that student's information for second semester. And see, she doesn't have boys basketball on here. So if she did have that student who was trying to become eligible for second semester, you go back, you set that second semester configuration up, and then boys basketball would show up here. Now, if you had a supplemental pending or a supplemental that had not been approved, you're not going to be able to add a new one to that basketball or wrestling. So you got to clean that up from the fall. But again, that daily check will help you in cleaning those things up. That is all I have for the eligibility piece. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them through the chat. Tammy, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. Lots of information, and I can't tell you enough that everything you're hearing and seeing today from our commissioners and staff it's information and tools you're going to need to get through the rest of this year as well as start your next year. So thank you all for staying with us and keeping notes of everything. But before we move on to Danny Brooks, we have a trivia question for some information that Charlie shared with you all. First correct answer in the chat. And the question is, to be eligible during first semester, a student must pass how many units? To be eligible during first semester, a student must pass how many Carnegie units? Okay, and we're moving forward with Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you all for all that you do. I'll be very quick here. I would like to start with coaches' requirements. All of our coaches are required to take 4 courses, and they are related to the health and safety of our athletes. Those 4 courses can be found at nfhslearn.com, and they're the concussion course, heat acclimatization course, sudden cardiac arrest, and protecting students from abuse. Again, those courses can be found at NFHS Learn. Every 2 years, our coaches are required for CPR and AED certification. And for any of our non-district coaches that are head coaches, they're required to take the fundamentals of coaching course. And that too can be found at nfhslearn.com. Next, I'd like to speak to the awards. We like to recognize both our schools and our athletes from this office. I'll start with the Sportsmanship Awards. The Sportsmanship Awards we give annually, and it's divided into 2 subgroups, and that's the Banner Award winners and the Certificate Award winners. I will tell you that I am looking for more Banner Award winners, and I think you guys can help us with that. Our Banner Award winners, and the information can be found on our website under sportsmanship. Our Banner Award winners has to participate in our Living Clean Week. We offer those each season, each sports season that is, and that is doing a community service project at your school. For the Banner Awards, it requires 4 community services. 3 of them can be within the Living Clean Week. At least 1 has to be within the Living Clean Week. And no ejections by any of the athletes in your school, no ejections by coaches for our Banner Award. Our certificate level, you can have up to 3 athletes that have been ejected. No coaches can have been ejected. And again, participating in our community service projects and our Living Clean Week. We offer a Student of the Month. I'm going to challenge you that everyone would at least send me 1 Student of the Month from your school. That is not based on performance. That's based on what your student athletes do within your school communities. We look at the academics. There are samples of previous winners on the website. If you would go to the student services piece and click on that Student Athlete of the Month, there are some samples there of previous winners. But we love to recognize the students within your schools that are doing outstanding things. The Scholar Athlete and Multi-Sport Athlete due dates have passed, but if you would get those to us immediately, we would like to recognize our Scholar Athletes and Multi-Sport Athletes if you would get that to us soon, because the due date is passed, but we're still taking applicants or members for those groups. I do the ejections here. If a athlete or player is ejected, the school should must submit an ejection report. The suspensions are as following. If it's football, swim, lacrosse, or cheer, it's a minimum of 1 game suspension. Golf, volleyball, and wrestling carries a minimum of a 2 game suspension. Basketball, baseball, softball, tennis, and soccer has a minimum of 3 game suspensions. The ejections are served at the level in which it occurs. And I know many of you, because I've spoken with you, help our students. And, you know, if a student is ejected, there's some responsibility to the student moving forward. And many of you help our students as they complete the ejection response form. If a coach is ejected, again, the school is responsible for submitting a report. The coach must leave the facility immediately. The coach cannot return to any level until it's cleared by the lead, cleared by us. A coach's ejection carries a minimum of 2-game suspension and a fine of $300. That suspension is served at the level in which it occurs. If it happens to be the final game of the season, that carries a $500 fine minimum. We offer some tremendous summits for our students at all levels, middle school and high school. Our leadership summit, where this upcoming year, we plan to offer a summit each month. The only month we're not sure about, December is pretty short, but every other month of the year, there will be some type of summit that's offered for our student leaders. And that's a leadership summit, sportsmanship summits, health and wellness. And through our summits, there's so much information for them to gain. We expose them to time management. We expose them to best practices. We expose them to the eligibility center, or the NCAA clearinghouse, and requirements there. So please take advantage of all of the summits that'll be available, whether it's our student leadership, sportsmanship, or health and wellness. Our health and wellness summit, tremendous information, not only for our student population, but for any and everyone that's within your schools in terms of best practices and things we can do to keep ourselves healthier.
Okay, Tammy, I think it's back to you.
Back to you.
Okay.
Tammy.
I wasn't sure if Danny was done. Great information from Mr. Brooks, and he shared something at the very beginning of his presentation, and that will be your trivia question. And that is, what requirement is mandatory every 2 years for all coaches? What requirement is mandatory every 2 years for coaches? And I'll give you a second to put that in. And I think I'm up next, so I will get my screen ready to share. Okay. All right. So hopefully you've all put some answers in the chat, and we'll move on to my portion, which is basically needing you to join me in being your school and district and state blabbermouth with nothing but the good news. And with that, I would like to make sure you all are you seeing our website?
Yes, we see the website with the communication Twitter.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, again, if you visit our website and you see the main topics there, there's one that's strictly communication. There's lots of items under that, from Tuesday news down to the annual report, but there's lots of goodies in there. And I will run through these fairly quickly, but before I start that, as you're looking at some of these things, and even when we get off of today's workshop, I invite you to revisit the communication link, go through it, get familiar with it, because there's items there that are updated, weekly. Our social media is updated every day. Just different information that will help you, and also hopefully act as a tool or a guide for when you are helping your department stay abreast of things going on in your athletic department, in your school, and in your community. Because as earlier, when Commissioner Singleton had mentioned all of the accolades and things that he, was congratulating you on for all the hard work that you do, especially, some of you that are new, really new. I want to implore that you act as an ambassador, a good news PR ambassador for your school, and primarily your athletic department, and the different teams. And it's a work in progress, but I'm here to help you with that and give you some tips and things that will help your student athletes, your parents, and your fans. So again, just keep that word in mind, that you are your athletic department's ambassador. And but let me jump in here. If you're looking at this with the communication link, one thing that, if you don't already receive this, but every Tuesday afternoon or evening, you will receive the newsletter from us, which is Tuesday News. And we update this every week. I'm gonna try to, yeah. And right here is the collection. And again, if you do not get that email or something happens, but again, it's a reminder to make sure your directory is updated, because that's who and how individuals get the emails from our office, which includes Tuesday News on Tuesdays. But Tuesday News is strictly just a 2-page quick review of things going on that week, things that need attention, dates, calendar information. Like right here for this week's, we have, I'm pulling that up right now. Let's see. We have over here, it's, I try to keep things in the same format, but you have a calendar of events, and everything that is ever on here, I'm gonna try to make this a screen. Everything is usually, every image is clickable. So here you can click on your calendar. Today, we wanted to highlight this and make sure it was prominent, was the administrator's workshop. But anyway, forms, this leads you to the forms that Ms. Drakeford was talking about earlier. This is our next upcoming championship. It leads you to that lacrosse page. And always, 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 every week is the social media links. Each of these icons take you to the high school league's online presence. We have an online lacrosse press conference coming up. If you click on this, it'll take you to our Facebook, which is where that press conference will be. And usually in these little, what I've tried to mimic our state championship trophy, but there's usually 3 different topics. Every week those change with different information. And, we mentioned our sponsors, which again, today's sponsors are Dunkin' Donuts and Bojangles. So keep that in mind. But, we try to put that in here. And I also try to include a, here's an idea kind of thing, something quick, easy for you to look at. But that's just one thing. Again, I'm going to go back to the communication link. Okay, let's see. Sorry, that jumped over. Okay, press releases. You may be asked to help with if something happens in your school or athletic department that requires a press release. A lot of times your school, your district has a PR professional that's in the district office. So if something warrants a press release, I would always say, please confer with that individual. If you do not have such an individual, I'm always here, phone call away to help with that. But there's always things that you could use a press release for to share with your media. So that's just something. Here's samples of the things that we put out right here on that same communication link. Memos that your schools get. We always post anything that goes out. We always post on our website. The annual report, here's the last several years of those reports. And that's just a combination of items that highlights and just facts from the previous year. And then awards. We've been very, very fortunate over the last several years to have state and national winners and awards. We actually have an award that we'll be presenting very soon for one of our students that was nominated for a national award. So that's coming down the pipeline. But I want to just really quickly remind you, as far as being an ambassador, that's just something that, I want you to think of yourself as an envoy or a vessel of information for your community. And to keep in mind that your position matters. You're very important, not just to the AD. You're important to the student athletes and the entire department, all of the coaches. So I know that feels like a heavy weight on your shoulders, but it can be fun. It really can. And when I say that you're a vessel or an envoy of information, the good news and clarification of the bad news. So that's something that, keep in mind, that you are a beacon of positivity and the good news and the things happening in your school and in your department. When you're sharing information, keep in mind that that includes social media. I can't tell you how important it is that you keep that directory that we mentioned over and over and over again in this workshop, how important it is to have that directory updated and pay attention to the links and the availability to put your official social media links there. Why is that important? I'll give you an example. State championships, every state championship, I'm there. I am updating and loading, and I always try to tag the school's athletic department. And if they don't have social media, I try to tag the school. Some schools, unfortunately, have several different athletic links that say, some of them will even go so far as to say the official link for Silver Bluff High School. And it's not, it could be just someone else that's a big fan that created that page. So by you updating that directory, it helps me tag the exact correct link for when I'm sharing information about you and your student athletes and your school. So please pay attention to that aspect of the directory and keep that social media updated and correct. And even when you do that, again, the next step is to always have your social media itself updated. Some of you, I don't want to say some of you, but we have some, there's some accounts that have, that haven't had updates in, gosh, some of them for a couple of months to a year. So that's very important because it can be a primary source of information for your public, for the general public and your parents and potential sponsors. So it's just very important to have information. Don't hoard the information, share the information. And I just like to say that it's kind of like educating the masses. Also, with something else that I wanted to mention before moving on is news media. I know a lot of times that news media will contact your office directly for information. This is why, to me, a press release is important because you have things there, as well as your social media, you have things there in writing. So nothing is misconstrued. It gives an opportunity for your athletic director, your principal, and your coaches to give direct quotes and to actually see and have in writing what they're sharing with the news media. And that's, each district and school may have their own policy and practices with dealing with the media. So again, will tell you, that that's a conversation that you really do need to have with your athletic director and school administration before speaking and providing information to the media. Just make sure that everything is accurate. That's probably the most important thing when dealing with the media. I personally like to have things in writing just so something's not misquoted. And other than that, with their social media, before I close, if you have social media, I ask that you connect with us. That's first, connect. If you have social media, we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and hopefully I'll be creating a TikTok soon. So if you have any of those platforms, please follow us and connect with us. That way you get our updates. Number two, if you don't have anything, create and update those platforms. If you need help with that, call me. I'll be glad to help. And also, if you don't have an athletic social media, then at least share it with the school's social media pages. And three, tag us when necessary. If there's information that you want us to know or that we're a part of, be sure to tag us in your post. That way we see it, and also the general public sees that we're part of what you're sharing. And finally, share, if you have this, the information, if you have platforms, share our post. If you see things that we post that are great news and things that people want to know about, make sure you check with our social media daily, get in a routine during the morning, during the afternoon or evening, and share the things that we put out there, because it could be things that help your student athletes, your coaching staff, as well as your general public. We just want people to be well informed on everything that's going on across the Palmetto State, dealing with the high school league and schools in your community. And outside of that, I just ask that you continue to share, make sure you keep my name and number and my email handy and share any of the good news that you have. I try to do my best every day to scour the internet for good news, and I share it, whether, it could be about a student or a school in particular, or changes in your coaching staff, that sort of thing. I share it here with our staff, but I also try to share it on social media. But, your staff highlights, community service projects, that Mr. Brooks mentioned earlier, that's very important. Academic accomplishments. We love to have our athletes highlighted for not only their athletic awards, but also their academic accolades. So keep that in mind. I know that the deadline is passed, but it's always very important this time of year, and I put it in Tuesday News repeatedly, so, weeks and weeks in advance and repeatedly, the awards. This office puts out the Multi-Sport Athlete Award and also the Scholar Athlete Award. Those are things that are free and you have access to, that gives those kids the opportunity to be acknowledged, to be, to receive something. I say this every year when we get calls that not every child is going to be the superstar, first string top athlete, but you have some dedicated students that more than likely are participating in two or more sports. And this is an opportunity to say, hey, we recognize you, and so does the high school league. And all you have to do is submit that information to us here, and we get those certificates out to you. And boom, there's an easy way to make those kids part of your awards program. So keep that in mind, and just I would work, get to working on that as the seasons go. At the end of the fall season, great time for you to check grades and make that short list of kids. When you get through with the winter season, same thing. And now we're in spring, you only have to work with the spring athletes. So that's just something to keep in mind. Other than that, I think that's a speedy rundown of things that you can help me with, but I ask that definitely I appreciate you keeping up with Tuesday News and the calendar and sending me the emails that you do. And if I can ever be of service or assistance or anything like that, I'm just a phone call away, and I ask that you stay in touch with me and keep sharing the good news. And I think I am probably the last presenter. So I'm going to ask, before Amy takes some questions, I'm going to ask that everyone, if you have not submitted your choice for most spirited, please do that now in chat, who you think provided the fun and the spirit of team and school today for today's workshop. Put that in the chat. We're going to hurriedly get those votes counted, and we'll have a winner by the very end of this. And before Amy starts, I just want to let everyone know that everyone that participated and took part with us today will receive a gift. And with that
Amy,
gift, I can't tell.
Amy, stop your screen share so everybody can see.
Yeah, let me see.
Make it bigger. Everybody can see you, but it'll just make it bigger. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, can y'all see me? Oh, you know what?
Oh,
I'm in
it
front of a
doesn't
green
show.
screen. I'm in front of a green screen. So here is a clear bag. Can you see that? It is a clear bag. Oh, I look invisible. It's a clear bag with blue trim and the logo in blue. A nice big bag. I'm turning it around, but if you can, well, this is fun.
I mean, hold those up separately.
Yeah, I'm going to hold these up. Everyone receives the clear bag with our logo. And if you can see that, like I said, Bojangles is a sponsor. They're providing everyone with lunch. So you'll get this in your bag. And Dunkin' Donuts is a sponsor, and they are providing you with Tammy, with coffee or whatever you want to do with this, but these will be in your bag. So everyone will definitely receive something. I know a lot of you are familiar with when we have this in person and we have lots of fun, and we usually have a nice catered meal and, you know, the theme and the decorations and all of that. So we've done our best to bring that same excitement, but we didn't want you to go offline, I guess, without a takeaway. So you will be receiving those in the mail. We're going to try to get those in the mail today and tomorrow. So you should receive them next week. Now, for hopefully you've all been voting and getting your votes in for Most Spirited. And Ms. Kayla had brought in our winners. She's been keeping track of chat and everything. So we've got the winners for our trivia. So really quickly, Amy, are we ready to call these out?
Well, I was going to do just a few reminders first.
Yes. Okay.
And then we'll come back to you to close out. So just a few short reminders, nothing
Perfect.
long at all. So, let's see. All right, just a few reminders, because I know someone asked this in the chat, but yes, your football, volleyball schedules, those are due May 1st. Someone said May 15th, but we kind of made an exception. I think 1 year due to COVID, we did give an extended time. So, but it is May 1st for football and volleyball. That's your varsity schedules that need to be submitted. Update your directory. You know, Keith went over that. You just want to make sure with the summer that you're getting in there, changing any head coaches that you're going to have, any administrators you're going to have. As administrative assistants, make sure you're listed on there so that you're getting emails as well, because a lot of things Tammy sends out. Those items go, like, where did I go? Rule clinics for fall sports, we'll be getting those dates out, and all head coaches do have to attend those rule clinics. So just be checking our calendar for that. Danny did talk about the multi-sport athlete award. You want to make sure if you have not sent it, please go ahead and get that in. We'll definitely take the time to get those student athletes recognized. And I just want to share that I think it was Tanya from Emerald sent me a message and said that with Planet HS, and if you go on to Planet HS where you do your eligibility and it pulls up your fall semester eligibility, your spring semester eligibility, it does give you the option down at the bottom to export all athletes. So that she says they use that to track their multi-sport athletes. Some of you may already do the same thing, but I do appreciate Tanya sharing that because that is for the good of the group. So if any of you are not using that resource, please do so. Please do so. But we appreciate you all being on today. Again, like Tammy said, if we were here in person, we would definitely be celebrating a lunch with you all today. So instead, we came up with some different ways to let you know that we appreciate everything you do. And with that, we're going to let Tammy close it out with our prize winners.
Okay, I was just trying to show this bag so it doesn't disappear, but it is really a nice bag, you all. It's clear. I have a piece of cardboard in it so you can see the logo, but anyway, something you definitely want to keep handy in your car for events that require a clear bag. But our trivia winners are as follows, and you will receive not only the bag and the gift cards, but you will also receive an additional gift for your efforts today with the trivia. Our winners today for trivia are from White Knoll High School, Missy Freeman. Oh, I need some sound effects. We also have from Bluffton High School, Renee. I remember her. Yes. Okay. She had the beach background. From Gilbert High School, we have Dina. Dina wins. And also from Lexington High School, Izzy Wise is one of our trivia winners. And from Gaffney High School, Barbara Turney. And also closing out the trivia, Berkeley High School, Monica Atkins. And for our themed Most Spirited Award, that would go to none other than Whitmire High School, Gwen Clark, who brought the thunder with the band, and then she pulled on our heartstrings with the little ones. Congratulations, Gwen. You know what? I was gonna say, everybody, take your,
Thank
take
you.
your laptop off mute and
Thank
clap.
you.
Yay.
Thank you,
All
thank you.
right.
Thank you. And also, I just wanted one last plug for Bojangles. Please keep them in mind for your events, athletic or not, but they do team meals, they handle concessions, they have catering. So please keep them in mind for when you're planning your next event. And also Dunkin' Donuts are not just donuts. You got your coffee, you got other sweet treats, and they even have sandwiches. I didn't know that. So keep those in mind for when you're out and about and need a quick bite.
All right, I think that wraps up our administrative assistant workshop today. We hope that the information that we have provided you will help as you are closing out this year and getting ready for another school year to be here before we know it. But we appreciate everything you all do. And at any time, do not hesitate to call our office. That is what we're here for. We're here to, help you any way we can. So please, please, please reach out whenever you have questions. Just a reminder, this has been recorded. It can be reviewed on the rewind on our website. So if you do have new athletic secretaries coming in, definitely share that with them. And just for those of you that might want to go back and just check something out, it'll be there for you. But other than that, we hope you all have a great day and thank you for attending.